Isn't this rose beautiful? At this time, look at all of the flowers that are happening in the garden right now. We're pleased with looking at them. They make our lives happy, and wow, let's eat them. You can't eat every single flower in the garden, but there are so many that you can. You add them to salads or stir-fried dishes or pasta. Let's take a look today at some of the edible flowers and how you harvest them, starting with roses. We know roses can be eaten as far as making a nice tea out of their hips, but the petals are also edible. You want to take them off of the plant so that they are shattered, and then remove this white tip because that's a little bitter. You take that off and you're left with a delicious edible petal. You can put these in jellies, you can put these in baked goods, you can put these over salads. They're delicious. The thing to keep in mind with roses is their scent will give you an idea of what their flavor is going to be like. If you're having a rose that has a lot of perfume, it may be a really, really perfumey taste. But if it smells citrusy or spicy, that's going to be delicious for you. Let's take a look at some other flowers. Pansies are delicious. These cheerful little flowers can be pulled apart and then set onto the tops of muffins or cupcakes or cakes themselves. You can candy the petals also by brushing them with a little egg white and then dipping them in sugar. Another way that you can enjoy pansies is to put them in ice cubes and float them in a nice summer drink for something that's really fancy when you're trying to impress your friends. All you have to do with the pansies, we're only eating the flower part, so when you're harvesting them, go ahead and pinch off just a little, leaving just a bit of stem so that you can handle them just before you're putting them into whatever dish you're putting them into. By this way, you can leave the petals unblemished and you can be using them in your kitchen. Then when you go to use them, just clip this off after you've candied them, and you'll be left with a flower that either shatters like this one did, or whole flowers to go into your ice cubes. Another flower that you can eat is lavender, and it's not all parts of this plant that you want to enjoy. What we're looking at for this is the flower. But you're not using the whole thing. You don't want to use the receptacle or the stem itself. Lavender is best enjoyed fresh. So what you want to do is you want to take it and you want to pull the flower out of the receptacle like this, and then take off this bitter white tip. Once you've shattered a whole bunch of these, they're sweet and delicious. You can go ahead and sprinkle them on ice cream. You can put them into whipped cream for some garnishes. They're really pretty. You can't dry down lavender flowers and have them hold this sweetness. With lavender, they're best used fresh, and that's when they're sweet, but they get bitter when dry. So go ahead and start stripping out these lavenders and using those in your kitchen. The secret to using edible flowers in any of your cooking is going to be in the harvest. You want to get out as early in the day as possible. Actually, well before the sun is as high as it is right now, because the flowers are not going to be broiled by heat, and you're going to keep them cool and rush them right into the kitchen. But another trick you want to remember is to make sure you're harvesting and using them within just a couple of hours. They don't hold well, and so you're not going to be picking them, putting them in your crisper and holding them for several days. Pick them the day of use. For example, these marigolds would be wonderful if pulled apart and then put into a nice deviled egg recipe, or they go well in salads. Again, you want to be removing these white parts of the petals so that you're not getting anything bitter. You just tear that off and you're left with wonderful, delicious marigold petals. But one of the other flowers that you might be familiar with are squash blossoms. We've seen these used in, stuffed, fried dishes. You can chop them and put them into pasta dishes. There are a world of uses for squash blossoms. As you can see here, we have this one. This is a male flower. We can tell because it doesn't have the squash right behind the blossom itself. It's a little farther open than we want to see it when we're harvesting, but when you're taking the squash blossom and getting it ready for use, because this is a male, you want to remove this stamen right here. Just pull that right out and discard it. You don't need it anymore. And then you're left with the petals that you can go ahead and stuff and use in the kitchen. You can roll them up around whatever stuffing you like, and they're ready to go. And they will hold for just a little while. If you're looking to add a touch of elegance to your summer meals, think about the daylily. It is one of the wonderful, most versatile flowers that you can use in your kitchen. If you're going to be sauteing them or using them in stir fries or soups, you want to harvest them as buds. So before they've opened, this bud is perfect. It's a little bit large, but you want to get the buds slightly smaller than this at about 2 inches long. Once they start getting a little bit bigger, or if they're in this stage here where it's beginning to open, they've lost their flavor and they're a little bit bitter. But don't worry, if your daylilies, which only last a day, get a little too far along, just wait a little later in the day if you can, and then harvest them when they're open. If you go ahead and take out the stamens here, you have a perfect cup for serving just a little bit of sherbet or a nice, refreshing ice cream, and your bowl is going to look fantastic. One of the things to really emphasize when you're working with edible flowers is, although they're all pretty, most flowers aren't edible. So be absolutely certain you know what it is that you have and whether you can eat it. Another thing to keep in mind is that many flowers can cause allergic reactions in people that are not used to eating them. So if you don't want to be caught unawares, start slowly. Try 1, maybe 2 flowers, and then wait a few days to see if your body tolerates it. Don't serve every single dish with edible flowers and go from 0 to 60 if you haven't tried them. I'm Carol O'Meara, helping you to garden.